Adults University, where we take adult shit and cut it into kid-sized pieces. My name is Miss A, and here at AU, we'll be starting a new series that will continue from time to time called Humanomics. In this series, we'll be exploring our humanity in relationship to ourselves, family, community, and the environment around us. In today's lesson, we'll be hearing some words of wisdom from Greg Hedgepath, who would like to pass along his nuggets of wisdom to you. So with that being said, let's get started, shall we?
Hi, my name's Greg Hedgepath, and I'm a supervising sound editor in Los Angeles, California. And what that means is I'm in charge of the sound for the movies or TV shows that I work on. And I supervise a crew of people and have a lot of fun doing it. So I am originally from the East Coast, but I moved to the West Coast and started working at a company up north. And I had some interesting experiences, some good, some not so good. And what I find interesting is that I learned a lot from the experiences, from some of what would be considered the bad experiences. And I think I learned from them because early on my dad told me that hard times would come, but when they do, he said, just keep your wits about you, stay calm, don't get mad. And he said, never hit anybody, which of course I wouldn't do, but his point was, don't get so angry that you can't control yourself. And so, and as an African-American man, I think he knew that there would be situations out in the world where I would be challenged. And so when I went to this company, there was a guy there who had decided to sabotage some of my work. He wanted to kind of move up in the company, and I guess he decided he would do that by kind of pushing other people down. And so what happened in one case was I was working in a room. There was a bunch of equipment in the room, and there were some people mixing a film in another room attached to it who couldn't see what was going on. So he came in and just walked right past me and stood over in the corner for a while, and I just kind of looked at him, didn't know what he was doing, and then I noticed he was gone. Later on at the end of the night, about 6 hours later, turns out when I looked at one of the pieces of equipment, I could tell that something was wrong. There wasn't, that he had flipped a switch, it turned out, that had made it go at half speed. And so there wasn't as much recorded material on it as there should have been. And so I knew right at that moment that he had probably planned this. And so that probably his plan was that I would get on the talk back to the next room and tell the people, hey, so-and-so came in and he must have flipped a switch and screwed things up. But he was, I knew this guy, and I knew that he was calculating and probably had planned on denying the whole thing and blaming it on me. So immediately when I saw what happened, I realized I had to take the hit. So I got on the talk back and said, hey guys, sorry, I must have messed up and hit the switch, blah, blah, blah. And from that, I was kind of banned from the room for about 6 months or maybe a year. I don't remember. It was a while. And so instead of getting mad, I decided to heed my father's advice and use that time and get better at what I was doing. So I ended up reading a lot of manuals, took some of them home, would read them, bring them back the next day, spent a lot of time talking to the engineers. And back then we had a lot of film projectors around the place. So there was this big guy who looked like somebody, like a motorcycle gang guy, but he was really a sweetheart of a person. And he ended up kind of taking me under his wing and explained a lot about the projectors, showed me how to take them apart, how to maintain them, really get everything working tip-top. So later on, ironically, this guy who had sabotaged me wanted to work on a project. MGM had come up to the facility from Los Angeles up north, and they were working on this film, and they wanted to show all their film every day that they were working on, and he wanted to do it and be the big guy to do this project, and he ended up working in this projection room and screwed it up because he didn't know what he was doing. So they gave me a shot this would be my first time redeeming myself since being messed over by him, worked in the room, and everything went flawlessly. And in fact, it went so smoothly that they said, we want this guy to project all of our material. And so from that point, I started to rise back up the ladder. And meanwhile, that guy got pissed, and that was unfortunate for him. And then later on, he tried to sabotage me again, and I ended up figuring out what he was doing and got around that. And so what I learned from all this was that I could have either gotten angry or I could have gotten better. So the moral of the story for me, and it's been a life lesson for me, has been to, whenever things are tense or possibly falling apart, to just kind of gather myself together, just take a deep breath for a second and think, okay, what's wrong here? What needs to be fixed? What's going right? What's going wrong? What can I do to fix it? And if it's somebody pointing a finger at me, if I have to own up to it, I own up to it. I'm always honest about it. If it's somebody else, I try not to throw them under the bus if somebody else is messed up. And I just try to resolve the situation calmly. And it's kind of, I've done well as a result of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm a supervising sound editor, is that if you look around Los Angeles, you won't find any other African Americans doing what I do. And I think part of the reason is because I've had these tough experiences but learned from them. So I think it's done good for me. Another thing I would say is that when you're dealing with people, that you should try to get to know them. And so wherever I go, wherever I work, I try to spend time with the people I'm working with, not just go to my room and close the door and do my job and go home. Whenever I can, I try to get to know people and who's who, and find out who are the nice people who I want to hang out with. And if some people are manipulative, I will let them show their true selves and figure out who they are and kind of keep my distance, at least, well, I'll keep my distance, but at the same time, I'll still talk to them, because if you just avoid people like that, then they'll wonder what's wrong with you and maybe use it against you. So, but I'll know that I need to realize that maybe I can't trust this person. I can trust this person, can't trust this person, and just figure out who people are. And I used that recently when I bought a car with my daughter. We went to a dealership, and the car dealer, it was we were buying a Prius at an Audi dealership. They had this used Prius. What the guy didn't know, I didn't tell him, is that I had a 2010 Prius. This was a 2011 Prius. We were buying basically the same car for my daughter. And so he started talking, and he started saying some things about the car that weren't true. Well, you know, the spoiler is extra. That's $100 extra. And I'm like, And you have to, you know, do this, and you have to warm the car up, and it's a tricky car, but you know, we've tuned it up, and I know the cars aren't tricky. They don't need very much tuning. So I just let him talk. And so in the end, once he presented us with the price of the car, I just ticked off the various issues. Well, the spoiler isn't extra. You don't have to tune it, blah, 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 blah. I said, you know, as a result, I think I'm going to just walk out of the dealership. No, don't leave. What do I need to do to sell this car to you? So in the end, I got it for $1,000 less than what they wanted to sell it for, as a result of this guy's foolishness. So I just let him be himself and just realized that he wasn't trustworthy, and we got a car for $1,000 off. So the moral of the story there is, again, be cool, calm, just listen to people, and instead of maybe spending a lot of time talking to them about yourself, just let them tell you about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves. And if you ask them, they will tell you whatever you need to know most of the time, or what they think you need to know, but you just read between the lines and you can figure out who people are. So it's kind of, you know, been good for me so far. It saved my daughter $1,000, so I'm happy about that. And those are my life lessons I'd like to share with you.
Well, that's it for today. Just a few words of wisdom from one adult to another. Thank you for attending class. Go ahead and do your homework by subscribing to this channel and thumbs up in this video. My name is Miss A, and until next time, remember, you must be this tall to pay bills.